Shame on you. What is shame? We experience shame on different levels, and we have all experienced shame to some degree at some point in our life, whether we'd admit to it or not. Shame makes you want to hide, and it can increase feelings of anger towards yourself and others. It is an emotion that can produce intense feelings of inadequacy, discomfort, and unworthiness. Now, the feelings of shame and guilt are often confused with each other. Guilt is something we experience as a result of wrongful action for which we are sorry and wish to apologize. If you did something wrong, how many of you would be willing to say, "I'm sorry"? I'm sorry. I made a mistake. That's guilt. I'm sorry. I am a mistake. That's shame. Think about a time when you may have experienced shame, whether it was a response to judging yourself or judgment from others. We can be triggered by circumstances, events, and other people, as well as not meeting our own ideals and standards. We can feel shame when we foresee being judged as deficient or inadequate in our looks, our abilities, or our intelligence. According to research, children who have been emotionally or physically abused, abandoned, or neglected regularly feel that they are bad. They then take on the shame that belongs to the adult who either hurt or left them. Repeatedly being told that you are wrong rather than what you did was wrong can also produce those feelings of shame. The first time I felt this level of shame, I was 8. In the girls' restroom, I was coming out of a stall, having trouble pulling up my pants due to the black and blue bruises I had running along my back and legs. A classmate exclaimed when she saw me and asked me what happened. I told her I got in trouble and was punished. She then said to me that what happened to me could not be considered punishment, but was abuse. That day, I learned that my home life was very different from my classmates. And this made me feel like there had to be something terribly wrong with me. And I kept silent after that. Brené Brown says that shame drives 2 internal tapes of dialogue: never good enough and who do you think you are? When we experience levels of shame, regardless of what triggered it, the negative way we feel about ourselves can be damaging. Our sense of self and self-esteem can diminish. Envy, anger, rage, and anxiety are all typical emotions that can accompany shame, but so are depression, sadness, emptiness, and loneliness. When we experience these feelings of shame, we can sometimes turn our negative thoughts inward and attack ourselves. This can be devastating in trying to regain your self-esteem and can negatively impact how you view yourself. This can then cause you to close yourself off and not allow you to be fully present with yourself or others. This then leads you not to be able to accept any positive thoughts or feelings from yourself or others. Our first experience with shame and all our emotional memories tied to that event affect our response to shame. The memory of all of our emotional experiences informs our response when that emotion is triggered in the present. These clusters of emotional memories influence our decisions and how we manage our lives. For most of my life, I experienced this intense level of shame. Experiences from my childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood only compounded these feelings of shame. It wasn't until 2017 that I started seeking professional help. Unfortunately, I was misdiagnosed and reacted negatively to my medication, which resulted in an emotional episode that ended with me placed in a mental hospital on a 72-hour hold. While in the hospital, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 depression, PTSD, and 4 sleep disorders. Now, I felt tremendous shame not only around being hospitalized, but my diagnosis as well. I was terribly afraid of being judged and termed crazy for having been in a mental hospital and now having been diagnosed with a mental illness. Turns out I had a right to be afraid, as a coworker made a false claim against me in regard to my diagnosis while I was out on medical leave, which resulted in my termination. After excellent performance reviews, 2 awards for excellence, and 10 years of dedicated service. According to studies, 1 in 5 American adults is battling mental health issues. And one of the main reasons people don't seek help is because of the stigma surrounding mental health. Don't be somebody who discriminates against people suffering with mental health issues. You trivialize these mental health conditions when you casually use terms like depressed and OCD to describe your daily lives, and subsequently people don't take these disorders seriously. You perpetuate the idea that people with mental health issues should be feared or ashamed rather than supported when you use terms like crazy or psycho as a means to insult someone. The more we take part in specific thoughts and behaviors, the more predisposed we are to those thoughts and behaviors. As revealed in solid, recent neuroscience research, thoughts become habits. Many people believe that our thoughts are a permanent part of our personality, yet we have more flexibility in developing new habits in ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. You increase the number and strength of nerve connections in the brain when you engage in new thoughts and behaviors. Here are some ways to cope with and overcome those feelings of shame. Create a compassionate inner dialogue to override that harsh, critical voice. This will require you to utilize words that reflect self-acceptance and forgiveness. Become attuned to your inner dialogue by observing it, but not reacting to it. Grieve your psychological and emotional hurts and injuries, and develop more compassion for yourself. Learn to forgive yourself for past thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. One effective technique for fighting that inner voice of shame is to practice mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation is the practice of being present in the moment. It allows you to become less reactive to your thoughts and feelings. Mindfulness is the awareness of what's going on in the present moment without any judgment. Developing compassion as an antidote to shame requires patience and commitment, and in some cases, professional help. Employing a little empathy towards yourself and others will go a long way to help us confront and overcome those feelings of shame that may limit us. Thank you.